On this episode of AV Week, we talk about Extron's new Python programming language, the rise of remote workers and the tools you need for that, and why drones belong in the AV industry. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 334, recorded Friday, January 19th, 2018. Programming in a vacuum.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Atlas IED, innovative audio solutions for every business environment, and by Audio, a leading manufacturer of professional PTZ cameras, Pro AV solutions, and UCC integration systems.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. Welcome. Thank you so much for listening and so much for watching with us to talk about all the news and information this week. First and foremost, he's my boss now. So his name is Bradford Ben. He needs no introduction. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. It's another great day to be a freelance free agent, just hacking away at AVNation.
Yeah, you have been doing some hacking. So
hey, I've been fixing bugs.
That's important. It's been a buggy week for some reason. Also with us is Bobby Schwartz. Bobby is from Starin. How are you, sir?
Hello. Always happy to be here, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And last but not least, Derek is joining us, Derek Jonkas. You may know him from our ITAV show, but he is here. He's from Extron. And actually, Derek is here for our top story. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us, and thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. So here's the top story that we're going to share with you. We have on our website, most every other outlet has it on theirs as well. Extron this week announced the Extron Global Scripter, which is bringing the Extron Python control platform, announcing it. And I say it that way, and I'm trying to be careful the way I'm saying it, because you guys have been working on this for a long time. This is not brand new. This is not, oh, hey, by the way, we thought we'd do Python. We think it's cool. You guys have been working this, well, I've known about it for 2 years. You say you guys have been working on it for 5 years.
Yeah, actually, probably a little more than 5 years. But yeah, it's been, we've tried to make some choices about what to do with our new generation control system platform. We made a conscious effort at the very beginning to develop around Python and to make all the customer-facing tools based around Python. So whether our customers would be configuring systems, which happened first, which is what we've always been known for, we always knew we would get to a point where we could offer a programmatic solution for Python to be able to really wring out the advantage of the language, but also to hit those higher echelons of control system project types.
All right, first question out of the gate is, why Python? Why did you guys settle on that?
It's a great question. Primarily because it's just a very accessible language. It's been growing in popularity. And I know just anecdotally, like my kids can take Python as a second language in high school, which kind of blows my mind because I guess I'm a little more traditional than everybody else. But
wait a minute, instead of French, they can take Python?
Yeah, they can. So instead of taking like a French or German or Spanish, you can actually take Python, which I'm still trying to wrap my mind around.
Yeah.
But I know that at least in terms of development, some of the things that Python allowed us to do to make the products, to bring them to market, was to really change the scope and the resources and the talent that Extron has to use to be able to not only support the product, but to create some of the deliverables that help to make the products widely available and sort of highly usable. So that was part of the decision matrix.
All right. So we've talked about this. You've been working this for 5 or 6 years in developing it. You first laid it out in the configuration. Now you have what I'm going to term as actual programming. And understand this as someone who is a former AV programmer. There are certain levels of when people talk about control system programming and automation, right? There are drag and drop and just kind of, make the boxes fit together, all the way up to physically typing words on a screen and writing code. That's what this is. Is that right?
Yeah, Python, and the way Extron uses Python is is truly a scripting language. So Python is comprised of a series of libraries that allow programmers to be able to, create certain aspects, certain attributes, use certain methods to bring forth, their control system solution or whatever programming solution. So if you used a Raspberry Pi or used anything like it, if you've gone online to GitHub or somewhere else and you've found some code or some other things that you found to be useful, there's a great chance that you'll be able to bring in some of those coding elements directly into your program for your control system. So maybe you found a great handler to be able to bring in raw data, be it XML or JSON or something, and you're taking data from one data source outside the control system and bringing it into the control system. Those are things that could be parsed and manipulated quite easily by using Python as a scripting language. Extron is not the first company to use Python in this fashion, but I think in the AV industry, I think we are. And I think it represents an opportunity for folks that want to have, kind of a modern approach to building control systems. So whether you're really kind of doing it via configuration, which is really what we're known for, or programming, you really have a solution that really fits, the individual talents and desires of both the person who needs to create that control system experience, bringing all those AV elements together to make them work in really a conscientious way for their customers. But it also gives the opportunity for those people who are writing code to be able to use the language and use the talent you learn as you're writing the language other places. It's not a dead end, right? So for us, we think that those are some advantages that customers have already told us that they find very helpful. And another thing to add is that for the customers that have these systems running, so whether it's a blended environment of configured systems working with programmed systems, a strictly programmed environment, or just a configured environment, our customers have told us that, by knowing that we use Python, it's a great validator of the technology, because there aren't many businesses or companies out there that aren't using Python or something like Python to be able to run certain aspects of their business.
Actually, I was going to compliment you a lot on this move, and it's also similar to other companies going with Lua, because it's pretty much Lua or Python. And there has been another manufacturer that's no longer making that product that runs Python. And so I learned that, and we went down the road at my former employer of which scripting language. The reason I want to compliment you on this is, like you said, there's a couple of libraries, and it sounds like a lot more integrated than just a plugin. But what it also does is it's a known language. It's not an AV scripting language. It's a known language, so that the IT guys that have just inherited an Extron control system know that they can call other programmers, go to the local college, pick up a CS student, and have him program it. So it's in their wheelhouse and talking their exact language, which I think is an innovative thing and the way to go. I've done the scripting in both Python and Lua. It sounds funny. It's very easy to be bilingual with both of them because it's a logical system.
Correct.
But Python, you go to O'Reilly, you get a Python book. It's not brand specific. It's not like I know Crestron, I know AMX, I know Extron, I know Medialon. I know Python. And going into building automation and tying in with that stuff and the information systems, I think is going to be a huge feature for this. So I actually think this is a good move forward, not just for Extron, but for the industry to take a more widespread, not product-specific language.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Bradford. And I had a first to dig on this is, duh. But now it's the kudos, because thank you for doing this. Because in the end, one of the major things we talk about with dealers is all of our programming languages are always made in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. And when we talk to our integrators, the biggest thing is finding quality talent. We hear it over and over again. How do I find quality talent? Because I need specialized talent, and I can't get enough installers who know what they're doing, programmers who know how to make things work. And suddenly, while you've made this shift internally, I think the long-term ramifications are huge for you on this, because as we move into the next 10 years, and that's really down the way in AV, there are kids, like you mentioned your kid. I have a 10-year-old who can explain Python to me because when he goes to bed at night, he's working on his computer on Kids for Coding. He knows Python blocks. You've opened up a potential talent pool of programmers well outside of our vacuum of the AV industry for the next generation, the next 10 years of AV technicians. So,
see what you did, Derek?
I can't take credit for it all on my own, by the way. There's a lot of people who contribute to this, but
That's not what I was told. The press release just said Derek Jenkins. That was it.
well, that must have been a typo. We all know this.
I also think, though, to follow up on what Barry was saying, we have a bigger talent pool. But what I would love to see is we're now going to have to get better at writing our specifications for the UI, because saying you want DVD player controls does not work for a computer science person.
No, you're right.
I think that's going to be the big challenge that we as an industry are going to have. Sorry, I did say Bobby, it's Barry. But it's going to be an interesting thing to do. And it's also the whole, now we can ask other programmers. We can go to Stack Exchange. We can go to GitHub. We can go to all these places and ask the smart questions. And I think it's a great thing you guys are doing of making it use an existing industry standard.
Yeah, absolutely. And an IT industry standard at that. So, all right, guys, moving on here, we're going to talk about collaboration and unified communication. And I'm going to say that, and you guys can disagree with me if you want. Story comes to us from ZDNet, and the picture they're using is the owl, meaning owl. If you haven't seen the owl, it's very cute, and you look for a review from that on AVNation, actually coming up soon. But they talk about the tax reform that was passed by the U.S. Congress last year, signed by the president, and they said whether or not you agree with the tax issue or not, one of the outcomes of the overhaul is the rise in independent workers, and what that leads to is the rise of remote workers. A lot of times when you have folks who are independent contractors, or they start their own corporations or what have you, for the tax benefits. Bobby, we'll start with you on this. When it comes to devices like the OWL and like other video conferencing devices, where are we at when it comes to UC and communications?
We've seen a huge trend, and to me, Alco's actually it's about remote working.
Yeah,
and that's meaning we've seen the resurgence of huddle, or this surgence of huddle rooms, and this whole, really what that gets to is smaller meetings, smaller groups. I have a team of 9 people now. Not one of us work in our headquarters. We are 100% remote, my entire team, so we're very familiar with this. When it comes down to meetings, you have 2 main things you need to accomplish. You need to communicate, and you need to be able to collaborate and share. We've seen tools that are huge for, like ClickShare, the dawn of the simplicity of one button click. There's lots of other products out there that can do a lot more stuff, but ClickShare continues to dominate because of that simplicity. I just need to be able to share stuff with people and get my ideas out. Now with all these digital tools, the remote workers, having quality communications, not taking the no shot from the laptop that's propped up on your lap, getting rid of that and being able to have real meaningful conversations face-to-face, like we're doing here, or across the board with your teams, has become more and more predominant. So we're seeing this huge uptick now in intelligent systems that are audio video hybrids. Meeting Owl, which is what ZDNet focused, has been huge for that because it's simple. The Revolab CS700 recently started launching. They're shipping out now. People are crazy about that. And it's all this kind of basis of simple plug and play. It gives you good communications and good visuals combined. And that's a lot like collaboration. ClickShare and a lot of others help pave the way for how do I share stuff easy. Now we're seeing the surgence of how do I communicate the other half of that equation in a meeting? How do I do it well and easy without having to think about it?
Well, let's grab another remote worker. Bobby's remote. Derek, not for nothing, Extron is headquartered in Anaheim. Derek is in the Eastern time zone. So as you're developing products and as you're supporting, what are the tools that you use to effectively communicate and share?
This is such a topic that hits home for me and for a lot of colleagues, I'm sure, around our industry, because, you kind of go where the talent is, but the companies aren't always in those places. And so what I see people doing quite often is using some combination of not only devices, but a lot of software, codec technology. I'm doing a lot of meetings right now using Zoom, and I'm really enjoying the experience. I'm also, Extron is a Skype for Business, supports Skype for Business platform, so we use that across the enterprise. So all of our offices, all of my colleagues, everybody that works around an Extron, they're all running Skype for Business using things like Zoom. Also, you're using messaging apps, everything from, they complement this remote philosophy. So whether it's something like Microsoft's new Teams platform or whether it's Slack, a lot of those are productivity tools that I see, groups not only doing the visual and auditory communication, but using those other kind of very channelized mediums to be able to work on projects a little more efficiently. Because just like we're not all in the same place, I think that's fairly commonplace for many of the companies that all of us probably work with nowadays.
No.
So I want to jump in here.
Go ahead. Hang on for a
I have
second.
an opinion.
Well, let me introduce you, please, because there's a reason I wanted to stop you for a second, Bradford. Bradford wrote a blog about a week ago about this very thing and what we've been doing at AVNation.
And that was actually where I was going to start. Is I like all these things. I like the OWL. I like Skype for Business. I like Jabber. I like all these things. But the unified communication tools, such as, for instance, we have Skype for Business as AVNation. We have Microsoft Teams. Actually, we have the full Microsoft 365 platform with SharePoint. It's a real tool. However, the challenge becomes everyone adopting it. So that's challenge one, because Tim still texts me, even though we have Yammer and Skype for Business.
It's faster to text you.
We'll discuss that offline. Okay. I'll show you how all this stuff works. But then the other thing is exactly what we're doing here, I think, is where it becomes important. So at my previous company, we had a Cisco unified system, unified communications. So I had Jabber Chat. I could hit the video button and immediately have a video conference, not set up a meeting, not do anything like that. And I know Zoom can do that, but it's just we're both in the chat window, hit the button, and we can share screens, etc., very fluidly, and even dial the phone from that. So it's all truly one. And I was, as a cynic, I was like, hey, this works really well. But the challenge is, and this is one of these things where people laugh, as I've been talking with potential employers, I've actually been asking, what's their communication tool? Because to me, that was a big part of my efficiency. Just like Starin, just like Extron, we had employees all over the world. And I was dealing with people in Denmark, in India, in China, in Dallas, in Sunrise, Florida, in Northridge. So, being able to literally, they're at the end of the click has been huge. And while I like the OWL 365 a whole bunch, I think this is going to be the next sweet spot of better desktop video conferencing. Like you said, not the nose up shot with just on the laptop, as all of us are probably either using external cameras or move stuff around. I think, so for instance, I would buy an OWL for personal use because I think it's cool, but I'd like to be able to configure it, and you guys can take this as a freebie. I just want one for free if you do it, to be able to go into software and tell it just to look at me.
You can
use it on my desktop. Okay, so
it's already built in. You can download the app, Bradford. We're going to get you a demo. Hey, Tim, you got a demo handy?
I do have a I'm still I'm still shooting the review, so yeah, I've still got it.
Bring it up to our next meeting, Tim, at AVNation. We'll try it out.
All right. Very good. We'll do that. We can connect with Bobby and show him how it works. So
and I will say though that this is, to Bobby and Derek's point, this is a huge thing. Companies don't, one of the stories we tell a lot as AV people is the boardrooms, the huddle spaces, all these collaboration tools. But selling the efficiency of being able to click a button and have someone show up at your desktop, I think is the big efficiency that will help businesses more.
You're exactly right, because the actual platforms, this is developing, everything's changing, and it's opening. The nice thing here for us in the AV industry with all these new tools and all this hardware is being able to follow this adoption. Are they 365 houses? Staring here, we were Office 365 Skype, but now we're Zoom with Office 365. We've abandoned Skype, and we've been able to fully integrate it now, and everything's changing almost on a quarterly basis. It's really exciting because it opens up avenues for us when we're not talking about that boardroom. We're talking about just how do you, in your internal teams, how are you communicating with your outside people and bringing them all together face to face? And when you come up with quick, easy, fast solutions for those unique problems and you solve them, it's just opportunity for us. It's all new business, and it's exciting. It's not boring.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Last story here comes to us from our friends over at Commercial Integrator. The title of it says it all. This breakthrough in drone technology could impact U.S. integration markets. The world's first production hydrogen drone, the MC Hydrone 1500, was first adopted by UK firm UView and is posed to upset drone technology. Now, it's in Commercial Integrator, a Commercial Integrator audiovisual magazine. Bradford, I'm going to start with you and just simply ask, why are drones part of commercial AV?
Drones are part of commercial AV, in my opinion, for large venues where you want to do a visual inspection. It does not replace a hands-on inspection for rigging that I believe you should do once a year, but you can fly over 5 acres and look to see that every speaker's there, every light's on, things like that, instead of having to walk it. So I see that role as being helpful. And it's also one of those things, and people laugh at me, is how often when we're in a catwalk and we left something on the ground, you have to go all the way back down or find a rope in a bucket and send it down. I want to put stuff on the drone and have someone on the ground bring it up to me. But
Bradford, that's called exercise. We need exercise. Us AV guys, we're sitting around way too much.
Yes, I know. My belief is I'm lazy. There's a reason I'm really good at programming and I can type really fast, but also there's the other thing of it's actually about the efficiency. But I do think that this has some value. There's also other things that start to become interesting that maybe people haven't thought of. You need to do noise measurements in the field for speed limits on outdoor projects. So like the Rose Bowl, let's say the at property line, you're only allowed to do 85 dB. Well, you can hang a microphone off it and hang it out there and go zoom around and take your measurements. You can also use it as repeaters. I'm not sure what the weight is, but rather than trying to figure out where to put all of your Wi-Fi if you're doing something outdoors, do a mesh network off of drones. There are uses for it, but I still don't think it replaces the need for hands-on looking at things, because it doesn't check rigging and make sure that things haven't failed. Now, there are ways to go in and put paint marks on there and all those types of things, but it's like, I'm not going to ride a coaster that's only been visually inspected by a drone. I'm sorry. I've been in the theme park industry. I know what that means. I want someone walking it by hand. And it's also not going to be able, but it can look at it and say, okay, that speaker is not there. We're having a problem here. There are advantages to it, I see, for large campuses, of being able to quickly scan outdoor things, even in, any place that's big, like, say, Giant Stadium or Colt Stadium. These places have 1,000 speakers in them. Being able to look and inspect them, or even just make sure a powered speaker is on with a drone, is a huge thing. And then there's cable pulling, but that's a whole nother debate.
That's a whole nother thing. All right, Mr. Bobby, your turn to ask the exact same question. Why do drones belong in AV?
Well, kind of as Bradford said, I'll just break it down even simpler. To me, it's a cute tool that has its applications and its capacity, things like that. It's something you can use. Is it going to replace things, or am I going to see, 9 out of 10 AV houses having drones be a pillar of their income? You can call me wrong in 10 years if drones become the new AV tool. I'll be glad to have that AVNation week. But I honestly, maybe a couple companies will come up niche and really focus on that market with the agriculture, the inspection, and make a name for themselves with it to make it a pillar of profit for their companies. But by and large, I really see it as a niche market with, there's some good practical applications, especially as these develop longer flight times, things like that, and weight capacities, more efficiencies. But as being a true everyone has to have AV tool, I don't know, it's niche.
All right. Derek, last word on this.
Well, I think drones are being used in a lot more places than we give them credit for. And I'd say, maybe the DJI drone that maybe all of us are familiar with is kind of what is on our mind right now. But just think of drones for the last 10 or 15 years that the military have been using. And I think the one item that we need to kind of acknowledge is that drones are great platforms for sensors. And so whether it's image sensors, you guys have mentioned auditory sensors, some kind of visual inspection, I just feel like we need to be on the watch out for what some of our customers are saying and what applications might turn out to be, more apropos for that technology. I think the bellwether for that is that I can't think of a military device nowadays that doesn't have an image sensor on it of some kind. And that gets aggregated somewhere for some reason, I'm sure. But if it's good enough for them to be able to make sure that we know where the bad guys are, I would imagine there's a lot of good things that can come from that technology. I'm interested to see where it goes. I think it's a valid AV device. Maybe it's going to replace some of those outfield cameras in the back of cold baseball stadiums, late in the season, right? Maybe that's a way to look at it. But I think they're here to stay in one form or another. I just don't think. It's like every other technology, right? It takes about 20 years for a technology to mature, and I think we're in the middle of that cycle right now.
We are definitely in the middle of that cycle, absolutely, and you're not wrong in the fact that we look at the drones that we had 10 years ago, the non-military ones, right? The ones that they came out with. So, all right, gentlemen.
I do want to add one thing that's kind of important. There are FAA regulations and licensing issues.
You have to be a licensed drone.
So it's not just go out and buy one. The reason I know this is in Elkhart, of all places, there is a 2-day training seminar to become a licensed drone operator and all that stuff. So, I think that's one of the things to include in all of this is you have to be licensed, especially over public places.
Have you done that yet?
I figure if I don't get a job offer soon, I'm going to do that and do crop surveys for a while.
Not a bad gig,
Not a bad gig at all.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for us. Mr. Bobby Schwartz, thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you as always, Tim.
How do people find you and or Starin?
You can find me at the Bobby Schwartz on Twitter or Bobby at Starin.biz or Starin.biz, obviously.
If you're watching the video, Bobby's Windows update is almost done.
Windows update's done. Computer's trying to restart. We're golden. AV at its finest.
You gotta love Windows. Mr. Derek Jonkus, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's been great to talk to you all.
Absolutely. How do people find you and or Extron?
Obviously, Extron.com. To learn more about what we're doing programming, it's Extron.com/programming. And you can reach me at djonkus@Extron.com.
All right, very good. Last but not least, Mr. Bradford Ben, thank you, sir.
Thank you, as always. Always good to see you work.
Wow. Zoom. Bang, zoom.
So now you're going to ask, where can you find me?
First thing
I'll say is don't follow Tim on Twitter because all he's going to do is complain about the Blues and the Bears.
There's no complaining about the Blues right now, just for the record.
Yeah, there is. Go to AVNation.tv, check out all the cool stuff we've done. Go make sure you visit our underwriters. You can find me there and a couple of my blog posts. I can be Bradford at AVNation.tv if you want to email me. There's BradfordBen.com, BradfordBen.rocks, BradfordBen.blog.
Ninja.
There's BradfordBen.ninja. As I tell people, if you type my name into Google and you can't find me, you might want to think about a job in lighting.
Wow. Okay, then.
I was trying not to say anything really bad. I thought that would be funny.
That is funny, yes. Although anymore, to be a lighting designer, you have to almost be a Python programmer. So, all right, Bradford's right. Don't follow me on the Twitters, but go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. We were already gearing up for Integrated Systems Europe. It comes your way the 6th through the 9th of February, doing a lot of interviews with folks who'll be exhibiting there. So I'll give you a kind of a taste of what to expect coming out of Amsterdam. Also, go by the website. When you go by the website, check out our underwriter section. These are the folks that support us financially and help us bring you Integrated Systems Europe. Extron actually is one of those, and so we thank them for their support and all of our underwriters. So all that and more at AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been AV Week.
Bye.